This is the Canon M50, and it's an extremely popular camera for people getting into photography or content creation because of its great value and ease of use. It is a camera that offers a professional feel and look at a very affordable price, which is exactly why I bought this camera myself. But there were some things that I did not know about the camera when I first got it, so let's talk about it. Prior to purchasing the Canon M50, I'd heard a lot of great things about it, and because the camera that I had at the time, which was a Nikon D5100, was a little broken, I decided that I wanted to get the Canon M50. When I got the camera, I was super excited to start filming and making videos, but when I reviewed the footage, I was actually a little disappointed that there weren't a bigger difference in video quality comparing it to my previous camera. It turns out that this was not because of the camera not being better, but because I had no idea on how to operate the camera correctly. I would categorize myself as a beginner when it comes to cameras in general, and I've only owned two cameras, the Nikon D5100 and the Canon M50. I've been using these two cameras to primarily film videos of myself, without doing any major adjustments to the camera settings. It turns out that the quality of the camera was a lot worse than I had expected because I was using the camera in auto mode. When you turn on the camera to film, you can choose between two modes, auto and manual, and as the beginner I am, I of course chose auto. This was because I thought this was the best option and that the manual mode was meant for more experienced photographers that knew exactly what they were doing and what results they were after. I had to research a little around manual mode and I found it not as overwhelming as I initially thought it was. When changing the camera from auto to manual mode, you have to decide three values: ISO, shutter speed and aperture. After having adjusted these values with a little guidance from YouTube, the end result was completely different. This is a test in order to showcase the difference between using the Canon M50 in auto versus manual mode. This is a test in order to showcase the difference between using the Canon M50 in auto versus manual mode. It was very surprising to find out that these few adjustments could make such a huge difference on the end result. If you watched any of my previous videos, you would know that I previously owned a Nikon D5100, which I used to film my videos with. This was my first DSLR camera, and as soon as I got my hands on the camera, I began filming right away, without putting much time into understanding how to use the camera properly. It turns out that the camera had a few minor issues, and as a result I had to use a few alternative methods to make the camera work as I wanted it to. As you can see, I had to use a measuring stick in order to make the camera focus on my face when I sat down to record. Fortunately, I do not have to do this anymore because the Canon M50 has built-in autofocus. In addition, it also allows you to connect your smartphone to the camera, making it very easy to operate the camera wirelessly without even having to touch it. This is especially useful when you're setting up the camera and adjusting all of the lights that you want in your shot. Instead of having to press the record button on the camera and then stop the recording, take out the SD card, put it in your computer and review the footage, instead of doing this complicated process, you can just press the record button on the camera, connect it to your smartphone, and view what the camera is shooting live on your phone. This makes it very easy to adjust all of the lights that you want in the shot, the camera angle or placement of the camera, or the things that you want in the backdrop of the video. Battery life was probably the most annoying thing. First you have to set up the camera exactly where you want it, where both you and the backdrop looks great. From here you have to start recording, and let's say that everything goes smoothly. After about 20 minutes you spot a red blinking LED on the camera, indicating that the camera is out of battery. And this is when you realize that the whole shot is basically ruined because you will have to remove the battery from the camera. making it near impossible to get the camera in the exact same position as it previously was. This is something that is very easy for the viewer to spot while watching the video. Because of this issue, I ended up buying this. This is an external power supply with continuous power, resolving the issue of having to recharge your battery while recording. This also means that you can focus entirely on what you're recording and don't need to worry about if the camera has enough battery or not. This also means that you can keep the camera in the exact same position, since you now don't have to remove the battery from the camera. For me personally, this was a no-brainer, since recording in itself is already challenging enough, and I don't need an additional time limit, making the whole process a lot less enjoyable and more stressful. These are some of the things that I did not know about the Canon M50 when I first bought it, but I've figured out along the way while using the camera. I thought this could be useful for someone in the process of learning their new Canon M50, or if you're deciding to get a Canon M50 yourself or not. And as we have learned in this video, I would recommend spending some time getting to know your camera, whether that's a Canon M50 or not, especially the camera settings, what they do, and how you use them, to ensure that you get the full potential out of the camera that you currently have. As always, I hope this video was educational in some way or another and that you did enjoy watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.